Okay, great. We already talked about what the dark triad is and what are the root causes that some people become toxic and harm others. And now we want to talk about the neuroscience behind it. We want to find out, is there any difference in the brain structure of the dark triad people or dark triad individuals in comparison with the normal brains? The answer is yes. And in order to prove that, we have beautiful study papers that we want to have a look on them. We don't want to dive into the details, but I provide you a general definition and general explanation that what is going on and what are the networks in the brain that make them actually separate from the normal people. Okay, so the paper title is Unmasking the Dark Triad, a data fusion machine learning approach to characterize the neural basis of the narcissistic, Machiavellian, and psychopathic traits. I know some of the items are complex, but don't worry about them. This is from the Department of Psychology and Cognitive Science from the University of Trento, Italy. Because I don't speak Italian, I prefer to not pronounce the writer's name, but I highly appreciate what they did. Okay, let's dive into the abstract. I skipped one part, but I will show you in a better summary in order to be more understandable and more differentiable in comparison with the original paper, which is this one. Okay, we know that these kind of traits finally pose significant societal challenges, and this is one of the major reasons that we are studying this. And if we understand the neural underpinning, we can provide them interventive and preventive strategy. We can have effective intervention and preventive strategies, okay? They scanned 201 individuals from different age and different genders, and they used unsupervised learning algorithm transpose independent vector analysis. Okay, I will provide you a brief explanation. Unsupervised learning, I don't know if you are familiar with machine learning, but unsupervised learning means to have prediction based on unlabeled data. For instance, we don't say this data is for narcissism, this data is for Machiavellianism. They are unlabeled, and TIVA, which is based on the mathematics, it tries to find out the patterns without labels. Okay, so now for identifying complex patterns in neuroimaging data, with those scans that's already obtained, it tries to find out those patterns by using complex math. And they could detect 15 joint gray matter and white matter. And gray matter is composed of cell bodies, neural cell bodies. We call it soma and dendrites. And the white matter is more about the communication, it's more about the connections, axons. It's a very simple definition for this. So please don't be confused. And we have different networks. I will tell you about them. This is a briefly and summarized explanation of those networks, and it would be more clear for you. But T is not in a capital letter. Sorry, I wrote it in this way. These are the major networks they found. TIVA4 is about the reward network. These are different parts of the brain that form a network that are corresponding to the reward. And this is negatively correlated with narcissism. Okay, this is the part that's related to the narcissism. It's about the reward network. And default mode network is composed of angular gyrus, precuneus, and posterior cingulate that positively correlate with the Machiavellianism. So the TIVA4 is correspond to the narcissism, and TIVA13 is correspond to Machiavellianism, and TIVA12 is about the executive control network from prefrontal and posterior areas. And finally, we have TIVA5, visual network, is unexpected link to the DT. We didn't believe that maybe visual system could have correlation with this dark triad, but has the relationship, it's proved. Possibly relevant to the psychiatry, but honestly, none of these networks can really prove psychiatry, and they inferred from those results that it might have more general and generic form. Like a supervisor of all of these networks, something like this. I cannot say this is 100% right, but this is something that I drew as a conclusion from those papers. And now it's open access, fortunately, and we can take a look on different network that they could find. As you see, gray matter, and this is a multimodal and multi-data set fusion. As you see, they fused it into one. And finally, by using TIVA, they could find out different network, different parts that are collaborating with each other. And finally, this is about the prediction. We don't want to talk about them too much. And as you see, we have different network. They try to find out. As you see, we have different parts in the different views that are activated for a particular goal. This is, for instance, about the occipital lobe, and you see these are different structure of the brain that correlated with different triad that we already discussed, like TIVA. It's about the narcissistic, and TIV13. Okay, this one is for narcissistic, and this one is for Machiavellianism. We already know that, for instance, about the Machiavellianism people, these are the people that who try to create some strategies for achieving their goal, to manipulate others. They think more than others. And this is the corresponded to the neuroimage and the pattern that they already extracted. Okay, great. Don't worry about the different names. These different terms, you don't need to memorize them or understand what they are actually doing. I love them, but as a general explanation, honestly, you don't need to understand all of them. You just need the concept. For instance, we have a reward network. Okay, this is enough, I think. And if you are very curious about what they are exactly doing, you can just search them. For instance, about the thalamus. Okay, for instance, about the thalamus, as you see, this is a gray matter structure located in the center of the brain, above the brain stem, and this is the thalamus. The functional is, for instance, gateway, that it takes and sends the information, like sensory information, that's sent to the thalamus, processing and related to the appropriate cortical areas. So it's sent to the specific and appropriate portion of the cortical area.